begin, first of all, I wanted to congratulate you on finally releasing music.
Thank you so much.
It is incredible.
Oh,
And
thank you.
the first question, not to put any pressure on you, but do you have any plans on a full-length album at some point?
I think plans is a strong word, but certainly dreams, goals, ambitions. I would have loved for this to have been that, but I think I wanted something that I could feasibly complete during the pandemic period and put out before I had to go back to work on, various Netflix shows and everything. And obviously, the more songs you add, the longer it takes. So it just seemed like a more feasible dip your toe in the water kind of way to start doing it for me. Plus, I just felt like these were the songs that I'd written that seemed to sort of fit together. Um, but yeah, I would love to. One day I would love to perform the songs. I would love to write a full album. I'd love to do covers albums. I'd love to do all sorts of things.
Holiday albums, why not?
Yeah. Who doesn't love Christmas songs?
Exactly. Come November 1st, that's what's happening.
Yeah.
With more conversation about vulnerability and compassion in the world, especially because of the pandemic and all of us basically going through some sort of mental illness, did it make it easier to release the EP during this time?
I think it made it more important and more of a priority for me. I think it was stripping away my structure, the people you're able to see, being able to see my family, being able to go places, being able to, have those foundations in place that make me feel those things that make you feel like you. I think we all distill down and boil ourselves down to those questions of, well, strip all that away, and then who are we? What's important to us? And I think that it became important to me, and I understood that after 20 years of being directed and edited for and written for, that I wanted to put something into the world, share something of myself, from myself, by myself. And that's kind of was the kind of catalyst for really kind of really doing it.
That's incredible. And it's true when, it's music is yours. And I always say that it's hard you can isolate an artist from the role they're playing. You're not a villain, but it's hard to isolate
Most days.
from the music most days. Speaking of separating, we're going to make you combine just for a hot second. But if you could assign any of these songs to a Shadow and Bone couple, who would you
To a
choose?
Shadow and Bone, what?
Song?
Sorry?
Couple, one of the couples from Shadow and Bone.
Oh, one of the ships. Okay, I would say, well, Rise Up is obviously sung about the sun, so that's got to be something to do with Jesse. So I would say Rise Up is a thing of support, so that's Rise Up would be Mal's song for Jesse. I would say, I don't know why, but I'm thinking the pirate song for some reason for Kaz and Inej. I don't know quite why.
Well, Inej is technically a pirate, but also
that's sort of what I was thinking.
There is an upcoming pirate as well.
That is true. That is true, but he can't have the pirate song. That's too literal. And then I think, I don't know, Not the End and Not the End maybe could be the opposing. That could be that could actually be the Darkling Alina song, because their relationship is very much about people have tried this and tried this and tried this, but in the end, what's true will be you and me. I think that's a little bit more in line with how they're, at least one side of that story is told.
Prepare for a load of fan videos coming to that song, I imagine now.
I'm sure there are better answers than that, but those are the ones that are popping into my head.
Well, speaking of a specific song, Ordinary Day, it has the simplest lyrics, but it's the song that hits the hardest for me. And so I wanted to kind of pick your brain about, because you were an English major, so when you've mentioned that words are important to you,
Yeah.
And they are very important. And sometimes the beautiful words do it justice, but sometimes the simple words really hit. Can you walk us through the idea of how you settled on, I know you've talked about the word enough, but I particularly wanted to talk about, tell me I'm enough in your way. Like that line hit like a ton of bricks.
Yeah. You're getting to the right to the nub of things here. I think I always, when I was growing up, I always admired the, Beatles songs and songs that felt simple. I Want to Hold Your Hand is just the simplest song of all time, and yet how better to express when you first, when you're first starting to feel intimate towards somebody. Just it's not necessarily I want to go to bed with you. It's not necessarily I want to have your children. It's I just want to hold you. Just let me be the one that holds your hand. And it's like, I don't know, it's like maybe it's not even that sentimental, but it hits. And I think that for me just comes from something true. It just comes from a feeling of so I have talked about the word enough. I think how romantic that word is, because I think especially as you get older, that encompasses a lot of things. Enough for me would have to be somebody that I could be proud of, somebody that wants the same things I want, that all sorts of things encompassed in these innocuous words. But I'm also old enough to know that you can't just rub the lamp, snap your fingers, whatever, and this perfect does not exist in human form. So there's allowances for compromise, and there's allowances for all of that kind of space and everything that other person is. So I might have my language for telling you that you're enough for me, but you have to tell me in your language and explain it to me in that way, if they haven't.
Yeah, it's a fantastic song. And I was so struck by how simple the lyrics are, because sometimes that's what hits, and it's the simple things that make you cry.
And I seem to not be able to sing it without playing it. So actually that's the one song that I also play the piano on, because
nice.
It was just connected together, and it just felt better when it was together.
Nice. So are you a crier?
And under what circumstances?
Well, you were on Brett Goldstein's podcast, Films to Be Buried With, and you did talk about a film that made you cry. But has a song ever made you cry?
Of course. I can barely get through Bonnie Raitt's I Can't Make You Love Me without her version of that, without bursting into. I mean, I just think it's like maybe it's like one of those, like, I Want to Hold Your Hands or You're Enough or whatever, but it's like I can't. And if anyone has ever experienced that, like it obviously connective tissue to to things that happen in your life, but sometimes those simple things hit.
Absolutely. Is there a fairly recent new release song that got you?
Probably.
Adele's new song?
I'm trying to think. There's I did like Adele's new song very much. I've only listened to it a couple of times, but I thought it was excellent. But well, there's an artist called Foy Vance, who's an Irish artist who's he during the pandemic released this Hope in the Highlands live album, which almost every song on that does that for me. So go and check him out. He's my little golden nugget recommendation.
So backtracking a bit, you have 2 music videos out. They're both stunning. They're both variations of storytelling, which is fascinating. And I know you also talked to Nerdist about being in a musical, and that's the first. I was going to
say, you're so good. You've read all the interviews I've been doing. It's very
these things. But it's so funny because the second I heard 11:11, I was like, he needs to be in a musical now. This has to happen. Would you do it? If you were approached for
100%. Yeah, of course. I would love to do a film musical. I'm a big fan of film musicals. I mean, I love stage musicals as well. It's so infrequent that a new one comes along that really like captures the imagination and fires. We had an amazing year a couple of years ago with Evan Hansen and Hamilton, bunch of different ones. But
Moulin
you know, to
Rouge.
be feel, yeah, but that was a remake. I'm talking about like when it's new.
Newer things. Got it.
And you know, obviously that original, I should say. I'm not that much interested in filing into something that's been played 20 times before. But I do love what film can do with those things, and it doesn't, you know, it can be a La La Land or a Greatest Showman or something which is not necessarily connected to other things. But don't get me wrong, there are remakes of things that I would be first in line to throw my hat in the ring for. But yes, somebody should call me about that.
But somebody should just take this album and create a whole story to it. That's what I said. This album feels like 5 different people kind of stuck aboard a ship and like learning to get to know each other and falling in love.
Oh.
So funny because Pirate Song feels disconnected in a way, but at the same time, it grounds the album in this storytelling verse that I just thought was
interesting.
So
I hadn't thought of it like that. I just you know, I know the things that I feel connect all the songs together. Actually sort of the same message in 5 different lines. There's sort of one line in each song which says the same message as all the other songs. And so I feel they're connected in that way, but I'd never really thought about them in terms of one story.
anything can be a story if you.
There are characters that certainly appear in all the songs. So yeah.
Last question for you. I think you know you're a very popular fan cast for a lot of things.
I am constantly and consistently staggered at how many things people say I should be in, and then I end up not being in, or things that are unfeasible to make. But yeah, I still get excited every time someone says you should play this, and I'm like, yeah, I should.
You should play the romantic lead. That's the one that actually gets a happy ending. It's not a dark, twisted story.
I'm with you on that. That's not as difficult.
Ending.
That's not as difficult as saying it should be Bond or Batman or the Marauders or whatever. Like I've been trying to find a romantic comedy that I can just be the guy who wins. In the end, I've been trying to find that for the longest time, but yeah, they don't come around as again, like musicals. People don't write them in the same way. I'm looking for my Harry Met Sally or my Notting Hill or my, you know, whatever.
It should happen. But so I do have a specific question. One English major to another. If you could be in any of the Jane Austen adaptations, because in my firm belief, we can never have enough of Jane Austen adaptations. Which man would you want to be?
It's a very good question, isn't it? I mean, it's always hard to get away from Darcy, but again, it's been done. It's like filing into Les Mis as a musical. It's been done by mentors and friends of mine. So I'm sure we could find something.
But we haven't had one since 2005. It's been a long time since Pride and Prejudice has been adapted.
I'm curious, am I too old for Darcy now? I don't know.
No, I wouldn't say so.
I mean, having played the sort of Kerrigan character in Shadow and Bone, I think there's elements of that kind of like loneliness and that kind of like deep-seated black heart kind of which you're just desperate for it to bleed red a little bit again. That's in that character, which is obviously something that people kind of respond to as a sort of character trope. And my mind is now, even though I studied it so fervently for so many years, my mind is now going blank on any other characters. Come on, run me down. I'm looking at my bookshelf to try and squint.
There's Knightley.
Yeah, no.
Captain Wentworth.
No. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I always enjoy Captain Wentworth.
Henry Tilney. He's a bit softer, and I love that about Henry Tilney.
What's he in?
Northanger Abbey.
I always liked Northanger Abbey, and they haven't made that.
They haven't. That one, the last one, 2007, I believe, or 3. I could be wrong, but it was J.J. Fields that played him.
Oh, yes. He's very good and very nice. Yeah, it would be interesting to do one of those. Or something
It's
hard.
something no one's going to complain about. No one's going to say, God, another Austen adaptation. It's
That's true.
something that's always welcomed, especially for romance lovers.
That is very true. Especially with the sort of like rise and rise and rise of Bridgerton. People I want to go back
absolutely.
to why we're doing that in the first place, please.
Absolutely. But yeah, this needs to happen for you. Everyone wants
all of those things, all of the things you've said. I think you should be in charge of my career from now, this point on.
I'll take it. I'll take it.
Just make some calls. Make some calls.
I'll take it. I'm sure fans can make things happen. So I feel like putting this out into the universe and letting your fans just run it and
run with it.
Happen,
yeah.
As long as you're
the Shadow and Bone, that is not it didn't not help with Shadow and Bone. When my first meeting about it, it was definitely brought up that I'd been fan casting it years before, and it certainly didn't hurt.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're fantastic as Kiergan too.
Thank you.
So, yeah. So thank you so much for chatting with us. I really hope
so much fun. Thank you so much.
Come up with more music someday, and
I will. I absolutely will.
Putting it into the universe for a romance lead. Maybe you could sing in that. Knightley sings in Emma.
We could just put them all together. We could just have a sort of Austen musical with jokes.
It'd be top tier of a film.
Sounds good. All right.